post-worthy podcast, Paul and Rob. Big talk, big laughs, tap in, don't stop.
Don't stop me. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm getting a new name. I'm changing mine to White Trash.
Okay. This is being recorded, and this is good because this is how the show should actually start. You don't need to have a start. So, hi, I'm Rob Nelson. Below me, next to me, I got White Trash. And then
that's rude.
And above, we got BlackRant. I'm the only one that's not like in a racially compromised name here. Although I could be a redneck. So
well, you know what yours is? Your name should be Messed Up Hat, because every single week you have a worse hat on when we do this thing.
You know, well, wore. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. I mean, it's a kind of a misunderstanding. It's like I kind of came up with the name BlackRant because of, you know, the whole black pill thing years ago before it became popular. So these were black rants that I used to do on my live streams that were like, you know, kind of black pilled rants, and that's where it came from. But then I realized, yeah, I'm black. Oh yeah, people probably.
So wait. Let's dive into that for a second, because for the red pill, blue pill thing, you know, you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? I'm going to be honest. I don't know what the black pill was or is. I mean, is that like the hard truth pill? I thought that red pill. And by the way, in Bitcoin and crypto, we got the orange pill. So you got the red pill, you got the blue pill. If you go for Bitcoin, you're taking the orange pill. So what's the black pill?
I dated a girl that took a bunch of pills.
Yeah.
I think she took all the colors.
Yeah, black pill is basically when you're it's kind of a pessimistic, nihilistic viewpoint on society, and so I never really went all the way into that, but you could categorize my rants as a little bit more black pilled, especially when I was doing them in 2020 around the COVID era. So that's kind of what it was about. It was like, man, it's all bad. The George Floyd riots. I was going into this place where I saw and I could see, I was foretelling, and it's basically all unfolding and coming true, where, you know, the black community was being utilized as a weapon against itself, and the mainstream media was facilitating this whole thing. So that was my black pill. Those were my black pilled rants. It wasn't really against voting or anything like that. It was more so, man, society is going in such a dumbed down, deranged direction. And it's being seen like that every single day, especially the more that we see AI taking over and people can't read, on and on. So, yeah.
So let me ask a question. So going back like all the way, did you just set out, what was your like prior to online life? Like, what was your career? Like, what was you didn't just start ranting.
I was an information project manager, and then I transitioned over to being a marketing project manager. I worked with a lot of crypto companies as well. So I started doing more social media for them. And then I was like, man, I just one day kind of just hopped on the internet and was like, I'm sick and tired of this. I had created this profile like way back in 2017, but I didn't really use it. I was like, there's like 2 videos there. And then when 2020 happened, we all got to stay home. You know, a little.
I like how you say we got to.
Yeah, well, it was,
I want to be clear. I never spent a single day staying home. I'm one of the. I can say, and I lived in Los Angeles for a year and a half. I did not spend one day in lockdown, including during the curfews. I went out with my phone and I live streamed with my phone during curfews. And to talk about how everyone wants social media presence, the cops would tell me we're under curfew and they're arresting people for violating the curfew. And but I'm live streaming. And sure enough, they'd start talking to me, telling me what was going on, the whole thing. So anyway, this is the power.
Didn't you get cops calls on you that they thought you were drunk in a park? Didn't you tell me that?
Not during COVID.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That was a different day.
So to Paul's point, you know, where this all starts, I think it's interesting that we're fascinated by the journey people take to get where they are, right?
Yes.
So there's certain objective things you could say. You've got a great voice for like podcasts. That's true. But, you know, you don't need a great voice. You know, I got
the perfect face for radio, right?
Don't we all?
But you're black, which helps as a conservative. That's a slightly different.
I don't think that helps anymore at all. I think it's.
But it did. It did.
Yeah, it did for a while. I missed that boat.
But still,
it helped in what in the realm of like just being different? Is that what it was? Like people
Well, no,
gravitated because there was nobody doing it?
no, there's a narrative. There's a narrative that's been proliferated for years by the Democrats, by mainstream media, that black people don't like Republicans. They don't like what Republicans stand for. They don't like conservative values. And so it was contrarian to be black and conservative and Republican. This is why Candace Owens blew up when she did. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with where she came from, but I saw her in complete and total rise. I mean, the first person who actually put her on their show was actually Alex Jones. And then from there, she went off and did other things. But it was very contrarian to be an eloquent, well-spoken black person who could articulate why they were for conservative values. Now it's like, it's not a big deal. Right. We got Byron Donalds about to be a governor. And so the Republican Party's like, away with you.
but it did probably help carve it out. But my point really is, I don't think people really get, who have any ability to last. There has to be something about you, what you do, how you do it, that connects to an audience. You get high views. You know, you have
sometimes
you're a micro influencer. Well, I looked. I mean, you get pretty good. You know, I always consider
my favorite video so far of yours is I think you just put it up with the guy getting his arm broke at a strip club. I was like, oh yeah, we're getting into that. Like,
Paul's waiting on that. Paul's ready.
Oh my God, I watched that probably 42 times. I was like, how does your arm even go that way? So going back to like, it feels like a lot of times the best things in my business and things I've ever done sometimes are not ever planned. Was this not a planned out thing for you? It was just kind of, you went on one day, did it, got a little bit of deal. Oh, did it take time? Did it start blowing up right away? Did it?
Oh, no, definitely not. Like I said, I mean, it's, you know, so going back to 2020 is when I started doing my rants. And at some point during 2020, I got the attention of a businessman and his partner, the guys that were involved in politics in Virginia. And he was a pretty wealthy individual, a couple wealthy individuals. They started a foundation, and they decided that they were going to, you know, pay people as influencers to start to create content. At the time, I didn't know how to like really make content. I was actually really bad. The content was actually really bad. The best thing that I was doing was my live streams. They were just going live. And back then, Facebook didn't like throttle you. So I was getting like 1,000 people at a time listening to my live streams. It was fantastic. You know, because you might like my reels and my short reels, but I actually had to get good at that. The thing that I'm best at is actually just riffing and talking. So right. I kind of get mad that the live streaming thing isn't what it used to be, but we'll get back to that. But so I did that, and like I said, I was a project manager. I had a really good job, and then I moved down south. I bought a house, and I kind of put that away for a little while. I kind of started my own business. I helped out other businesses, including faith-based businesses, churches, and things like that with their social media. So I was really like paying attention to that. And at the time, I still had like 15,000 followers on Facebook and on Instagram. And it was really when Charlie Kirk got assassinated that I like put the battery in my back to say, man, I'm articulate. I'm right. Intelligent. I was never really somebody who followed Charlie Kirk very closely, but when he died, I already respected him tremendously. But
I was the exact same way. When that happened, it turned it all up.
Same.
Right, so it kind of motivated me to say, okay, what needs to happen is there needs to be more voices who have the ability to debate, argue, articulate, because I see a lot of conservative influencers online, and there's no shade being thrown at it, like, you know, obviously, but one thing that a lot of people don't have the ability to do is articulate the culture, the values. They don't have the ability to articulate, you know, some of the protocols and the policies that are being implemented in a way that makes actual sense to regular people, just bringing that across. And then the other thing that people don't understand is one of the main reasons why we won in 2024 was culture. It was all a culture win for Donald Trump. And I'm assuming you guys think that that's a win, but not a loss. But for the most part, people did not want to see wokeness go supercharged because we had this nebulous colored female in the White House leading the charge, basically desecrating everything that our country stands upon. So everything was culture. People did not want to see an acceleration of this trans whatever. No knock on trans people, whatever, do your thing.
Right.
Nobody wanted to see this acceleration of pushing this on our kids. No, people did not want to see that. They were done with that. And that's the reason why Trump won. So obviously culture and culture wars and comedy and humor is a huge part of my platform and the content that I create. But then I use that as a segue to funnel people down so that we can have a real conversation, because I think, like I said before, being a Black conservative has become very, very tokenized, where you're put into a box. And unfortunately, I love Officer Tatum, but he's been restricted, right? He's been put into this position where you're not even allowed to listen to him anymore.
Yeah.
So who can you listen to? Who's going to bring more Black people, more liberal people, Democrat people, independents who are, on the fence, who aren't really down with the far left propaganda? Who's going to bring them over? Because essentially at this point, you've been told Officer Tatum's a fascist. He's a Nazi. Everybody who sides with Turning Point USA, they're Nazis. So where does the middle ground stand? And that's kind of where I decided to go with.
So this is interesting. And I know Paul's before we're done, Paul's going to do this great business dive. It's like he'll Shark Tank you a little bit. And that's a good thing, because it's really a part of this is helping people who watch and who are on it figure out how to make their platforms work in the new content environment we're in. But I'm more fascinated, for me, on the pure human level. Not that Paul isn't. I mean, he's heartless. He's a heartless.
Yeah, he doesn't even see me as a human being.
I don't see Rob as a human being, and that's why he's saying this, because that's how he does things.
But BlackRant, I'm fascinated by the culture side of this as well. And for me, the Black conservative issue has really always struck me. And I don't want to pick sides per se. I mean, I'm pretty much an independent, but I'm curious for you, how I don't know that we ever get past in this country. We've only gotten worse with the white-black thing, right? I mean, at this point, I would argue the most prejudiced people I meet are white liberals who pretend they're not prejudiced, I know more white and liberal women who they see a Black guy walking down the street. I just always laugh about this in California, and in the evening or night, and they cross the street. I'm like, why are you crossing the street? Because there's a big Black guy coming down the street. There's a big Black guy going to hurt us? Like, it's a built-in thing. And you notice, like, people will lower their voice when they say Black. They'll be like, so I saw this Black guy out there. And like, well, wait, you have to whisper the word Black? You think he doesn't know he's Black? You're saying Black a bad thing? I want to be like, yes, he's Black, everybody. Did we not
Anybody that's in the dating world should be way more worried about a 5'6" blonde. Like, I'm telling you right now. Like, that's who you should be worried about. Like,
I think 2026 has started to prove to us that probably one of the most dangerous creatures on the planet is a leftist female. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
So you can leave out the leftist. Just the female part.
I mean,
No, I get it. So listen, let's go. Rob, let's go back to business at some point.
Oh, hold on. Before the business, last thing. This is part of the business of where your brand grows. I do think there's a space for, although I hate the fact that we are now literally talking about Black people who are articulate. Like, he's an articulate Black man. Wow, he's an articulate white dude. There are articulate Black guys and inarticulate Black guys. Both exist. But I think you have a kind of a brand. How do you see that brand building in the culture? The divide's getting deeper, not narrower.
Well, let me put it to you like this. I number one, I don't think that that's really going to matter in the future, right? Money talks and BS walks. So the more and more that the policies that are being implemented today continue to grow, like the reshoring of manufacturing and things like that, the culture wars will simply start becoming less relevant. What do I mean by that? Back in the day, maybe back in the 70s or the 80s, men had jobs where they would go and they would work in a factory. They would make, what would be equivalent to probably $25 or $30 an hour nowadays. They would come home, they would have something to bring back to the table. And that's something that's this administration is attempting to rebuild. However, that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in 5 months. It happens over 5 years. So we're going to have to wait to see that happen over the next 5 to 10 years. That's number one. Money talks, BS walks, because there's an imbalance that's been happening for the last 15 years where women have become so much more successful at making money with very, very low, like it's the highest leverage that you've ever seen. Women can just take a picture of themselves and that they're 5 and up, like on the scale, 5 to 10, whatever, 5 out of 10. If they take a picture of themselves and post it on Instagram, all of a sudden they're an influencer and they can get $200 a day posting about some brand. So the leverage that women have had with the, app, social media, FANG, Silicon Valley infrastructure that's been built up has been far outweighing what men can do, because men don't have the jobs to manufacture. Men don't want to sit there and take pictures of themselves all day, and it's not really a masculine thing.
I know a few that do.
Well, kudos to them, but that's been the imbalance, and that balance is going to be corrected. Also, because of AI, you're going to see a lot less Instagram models, a lot less of that, because if a computer can generate what you've done, then who are you? So I think that's going to get pushed out of the way. I think also the race thing, like I said, money talks, BS walks. If everybody's making money, people will stop caring about the racial divide. I think what's happened is that people have become very irritable and frustrated with the system, but they don't know where to take that frustration out. And because in our media, they just continue to replace characters in movies with, get a black trans person, get a black disabled woman. It's infuriating. I can't get a job. I'm a white guy from Kansas. I can't even get a job to pay my bills. I got a baby on the way, and you're telling me that I'm a terrible person because I don't want to see a disabled black person play King Henry the Eighth. It's insanity. So it's being done deliberately to try to antagonize and provoke people, but that's going to go out the window as well. I think what we have to do is more like wait and see. And it's unfortunate because we're in this really difficult time, but I hear that all the time from, people who are Gen Xers, and because you guys were raised in a culture and a time when it was highly unacceptable and inappropriate to just be outwardly racist. I understand that. I'm a millennial. By the time I started growing up, we didn't even have that. White people, black people, like we were all listening to the same music, hanging out. There was none of this. I think it's come up again because the media and Hollywood has tried to push this agenda because they want to maintain control over a certain demographic of voters. And now that that's been absolutely devastated and crushed because, we're going to shut off, all this, illegal migrant or whatever flow from all over the world, we're going to shut that off. We're going to actually secure our borders. We're going to try to legislate things so that we can control our elections. We're actually going to try to get control and get rid of a lot of this corruption that you're seeing where, in California, we can have billions of dollars given for homelessness, but homelessness increases 300%. All that stuff is being pushed out and pushed away, and it's going to take time. But what that actually has forced the Democrat Party to do is to refocus and retarget their black voters, because I've watched over the last 10 years, the Democrat Party shift their concerns away from black people over to, obviously, the immigrant, which is fine. That was their strategy, but now that strategy is absolutely falling apart. And so that's my assessment on the culture wars. That's my assessment on the race debate. I think the race debate is at its height right now. And I think as we go forward over the next 3, 5, even 10 years, it will become substantially less important. However, it'll probably have made such a dent in our society where things will be kind of irrevocable for a lot of groups and demographics, unfortunately.
So let me ask this, like going towards this kind of stuff, you see people get deplatformed, you see people get demonetized. I have a few of my friends I have one of my friends who's a huge YouTuber. When I say that, he's probably middle of the road to some, but he's got 4 million followers. If he puts the wrong song in a video, he'll get demonetized on YouTube. With you, is that like, where is your largest following? Like, do you focus on one thing, like on the business side of it? Did you focus like primarily, hey, this is where I want to go, or did it just kind of organically happen?
Yeah, no, it actually really organically happened, and it happened mostly because of my subject matter. So like Facebook is my biggest platform right now. And yeah, I totally understand and hear what you're talking about when it comes to these platforms being
no
very
rhyme or reason to what you can and can't do. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I shouldn't have stepped on that landmine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. It's a very Byzantine thing, right? It's like it's a labyrinth that you can never really truly negotiate and navigate through. So I think a lot of people just try to err on the side of caution, which is why it's like it's a soft form of censorship. And what I think is the future for that.
term.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like, oh, I'm not even going to cover that topic.
Have you gone to Instagram jail? Have you had yourself in the shadow ban and the,
yeah, actually several times.
TikTok's brutal. TikTok will whack you.
I don't even touch TikTok. I gotta be honest. I have like almost no interest on being on the platform. I don't do TikTok shop, so there's really no benefit. For me, what I've researched and understood is the only benefit of being on TikTok is if you're like trying to grow a tremendously large following and you want brand sponsorship deals and things like that, or the credibility of having 5 million followers on TikTok, or if you're doing TikTok shop. And I'm not. It's just, to me, it doesn't feel like a good utilization.
Some of the guys I know, they utilize it to bring people to other platforms. So they'll want to bet that, like you said, get a huge following there, but then they'll guide them to their YouTube or their, like Instagram. So where are you the biggest now? You said Facebook?
Yeah.
And it's Facebook. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I feel like I'm talking a lot. I haven't put a lot of time into my YouTube, and that's what I'm actually going to start doing now, because I have a really good strategy to build that up. But I didn't want to actually.
What is that strategy?
He's not telling you, Rob.
No,
I want to tell. I don't want to know. I want to know for our people who the 10 people that might listen to this. No, I want the audience to know. Look, I like the humans, the story. I want to get into a whole argument about the culture stuff with you in politics, but Paul wants to keep us on track.
Oh, I know. We only started this podcast because we wanted to find out about social media and people, how they do it. And Rob wants to go back down to his road every time.
Well, I think it's all related, right?
It is.
Because I mean,
no, we're just kidding, sort of. But no,
I think it's all related.
Do you find that you get like? Is it? I've it's like one time I heard what's her name? Cardi B said, "Thanks to all my haters for my album going so huge." Do you find that a lot of the people that follow you are the people that don't like you? Like,
sometimes, like I got a comment the other day on a post. And it was is my favorite demographic of commenter, the 50 and up black male Democrat voter. He said,
I saw that. I think
he said,
I read your comments, a lot of them.
He said, "Why am I following this corny cornball guy or whatever?" And he's like, "Why do I keep seeing this cornball on my timeline?" I said, and I checked his profile and it said he followed me. I'm like, "Because you're following." I'm like, that might be, I don't know, Mr. Genius. I don't know, Einstein. Yeah. That might be.
Why do I keep seeing this guy at my job? Because you work there, Jack.
Right? Like, I don't know.
Like, so when you say you have strategy, do you sit down when you make content? Do you do it because, hey, I know this is going to make me money, or do you do it because this is just what I do, and if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Or has that changed over the years?
I try to, I forgot what the terminology is. This is like a Japanese term for being able to combine the things that you can contribute to society, the things that you truly believe, and the things that make money together. I forgot what the term is, but I try to do as much of that as possible. I try not to just, this is going to make money, but I don't believe it. This is, going to get a lot of views, but I don't believe, or I believe it, but I know it's going to get me banned. I try to find that nice little middle ground. Right. And especially for these platforms that are paying me, so like if I showed up to a job, I work at a company and I just started doing whatever I wanted to because this is what I feel, I can't be surprised if they fire me. And it's the similar thing with, Meta. If I'm a contractor and they're paying me every month, I'm not just going to go around breaking their rules and get mad about it. That's the one thing I get really when I see some content creators like bitching about it, I'm kind of like, are they really censoring you, or are you just,
Right. Did
they
you
got to
know
make
the
money
rules
too.
and you stepped over the line? It's like,
Yes.
Whatever. Spoken like true conservatives. Yes, they're not censoring because they set the rules, which technically they can set. But let's be honest, it's their algorithms are somewhat. They're somewhat. It's hard to know. It's as you said. You can't even really figure them out. It's sort of a hit and miss. They are weighted, and clearly were weighted to censor.
it's funny when you do get a program like my friend that we talk a lot about. He was on our podcast. His name's Paul Cafaro. He's 25. He's been doing YouTube since he was 16. Like he's a badass in this space, and he knows like, hey, if I put this video up, I'm gonna make this amount of money. He's got it down to a science, and I watch what he does, and it's all family. It's all building stuff in his backyard. He doesn't go down any kind of roads that could get him in trouble. We did a video, and he made me have the guys edit out the word shit, and I was like that's what's going to get it out. And but in his brain, it's like, if I put this on my channel, this could affect parents that are watching that won't let their kids watch my content, and so
Well, I'm
a lot of things that go into it.
Well, this is the thing I think people have to start thinking about, right? I'm not talking about censorship like we had on Facebook in 2017 all the way to basically 2023 or 2024, whatever. There was an extreme level of censorship where they were like, these topics cannot be covered, and there still is a certain soft version of censorship. But I think people need to start thinking about the internet the way in which they think about the television, right? You don't want to turn on your TV, sit down and watch a movie with your kids. Back in the 90s when we were watching cable TV, if you turned on a movie and somebody just started screaming profanities and ripping off their clothes, it's like you'd call the television station, you'd call the network and complain. Right. They have advertisers, and that's exactly what the internet is now. It's a bunch of sites and companies and conglomerates and business with each other and advertisers that are all trying to make money. And so if that's the platform, if that's the business model of the platform, you cannot expect to make money going against the business model of the platform. Now, that's what some of these other platforms are for, like Substack. I think Substack is a godsend to creators, things like that. School, like Alex Hormozy created School. Things like that are godsend.
Those are, I think we're moving toward a more, it's something Paul and I talk about, and we're moving toward a more decentralized frameworks where content platforms will be decentralized across the board. I mean, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, which is, part of Meta. You've got, I know what Elon Musk is trying to do, whether he fully can, but even OnlyFans, it's a centralized platform. Everything's going to move decentralized. My question for a creator like you is, you don't have a product. You don't have a brand that you can sell a thing. You don't, so you're building a content brand. I call it a content first, content only at this point. Do you think about, and it's hard in the political space because it's hard to figure out what you monetize beyond your content, right? You can have some merch, but I mean, you don't have a business model that you can monetize separately. And that's where it's challenging, right? Because you can't monetize with your followers in a traditional way enough if just off the CPMs, right? I mean, to make a ton of money, right? You don't have, even with 4 million followers, people like Paul Cafaro have it's a brand. They built a brand that can, you're saying, I don't do TikTok shop. Like I do politics, I do commentary. Does that make sense? Does that make you enough to like just be like, I don't need to do anything else for get rich?
I mean, well, let's put it like this. I have other streams of income that don't have anything to do with the internet. So at this point in time, I'm not relying on the internet.
Would you want to? I think is what I'm asking.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I made some good money off of Meta, but I'm not going to rely on it, right? I know people who make $20,000 a month just making content and posting it on the internet. But to me, I'm a black person, right? I don't know if you guys ever heard that joke where black people are always expecting to get fired from their job. I don't know why, but that's part of my mentality too.
That's not a color thing, because me in my 20s, I expected that every 15 minutes.
I was going to say, well, I have not heard this. Wait, is that a thing? Black people think they're going to get fired from their job? I didn't know that. I thought I would always get fired from my job. Not always, but I used to. I mean,
well,
is that really a black thing?
Well, I guess it's a black thing, and it's an entertainment industry thing. I don't know, but
that's true. You know what? I have friends in radio, and they said if you haven't been fired in radio, you're not really in radio. You know,
it might be. I actually think there are differences in again, the political divide and the racial divide of how this business plays out. I mean, and
I look at it. Sorry, Rob, but I look at it like anytime you have somebody else, I think the decentralized way of doing things at some point is the way it should be. Because, like, even with Paul, I talk to him all the time. I'm like, bro, you got 4 million. His YouTube is his bread and butter. Like, that's it. If that went away, he makes money on Snapchat, but he's got to put 40 to 70. He posts 40 to 70 times a day on Snapchat, and makes $300-400 a day off of that. He makes a little bit off of these other places, but if YouTube went away and they decided to get rid of him for any reason, and that could happen at any time, he's done. Like, he's got to find somewhere else to put all those people. Like he probably won't mind me talking about it, but he made almost well over close to $146,000 in June just off of YouTube, and then off of merch around 108,000 at 62% profit margin.
Throwing your friend's numbers out there.
He don't care. Like, we talked about it.
They're not low numbers. That's
but the thing is, he's worked for 10 years to build that up. And you and I being business people, it's like if I built a business up for 10 years that somebody else could take away from me at any moment, it would drive me absolutely crazy. But I don't understand. Like, so do you ever worry about that? Have you ever gotten like throttled all the way down, like them, put you where you're not getting people? Have you ever noticed things that you're like, this isn't right? I should be getting way more views. I should be getting way more, action on this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the time. I mean, listen, I don't want to get too much into my personal stuff, but I mean, luckily I'm lucky enough to have a decent amount of money saved up and, have other, work coming in that has nothing to do with, my BlackRant. But, and so I'm in a very lucky position. Not everybody's in that position, but I will say this. I personally think platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever, those are like your megaphone. Those are like going on the nightly news. That's like getting on TV or MTV. That's your publicity. If you get paid for your publicity, then fantastic. That's your publicity. Like Rob said, you have to have some kind of product or business model or digital product or something like that, which I do. And so there has to be some other skill set that's involved. And
what's your digital?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to that in a second. But I was a little late to the political party, right? And like I was making kind of a reference to earlier, is that being a black conservative is not really a big deal anymore, because people are out there. I got a dozen black conservative people that I follow just on Instagram alone. So it's the pickings aren't small, and because the Republican Party doesn't necessarily require a bunch of different black conservative voices to kind of put them, in the forefront, they're picking and choosing and finding their people that they want to pull up to the Daily Wire or pull up to whatever given platform. And so I missed the boat on that one. So politics, luckily, I'm not 19 years old. I have other skill sets, I have other knowledge, I have other things that I can do and give and educate people on. So that's the benefit of where I'm coming from. And I think that's also the reason why my content can be a little bit more multifaceted outside of the realm of just politics, outside of the realm of just, oh, go Trump, because we saw that for a while there. I mean, you can look at, I forgot what's his name? The guy who sells pancakes now.
What?
The black guy who sells pancakes now, you know that?
And not Aunt Jemima.
I've never wanted to Google something so bad in my whole life.
Yeah, I forgot.
The black guy who
his,
sells pancakes.
Yeah,
What black guy sells pancakes?
His brand is called Cousin T's. I forgot his name, but he's got like 1 million followers.
I want to know. I didn't know there was a black guy who sold pancakes.
But he was one of the first earliest black conservative guys who was like all in for Trump, like just all in for Trump. Back in 2018, 2019, all you had to do is put a red hat on and be a black person, and you were gonna get tons of views, tons of likes. Yeah. So he got in very early. He's got all that. So
so here's a curious thing for me. It's changed. I want to say two things. One, if you could make a lot of money, more money doing this, and you weren't dependent on a YouTube, if you were in a decentralized platform where you controlled the data, controlled the subscribers, knew who they were, could monetize even on a smaller audience, 60, 70,000 easy, you could monetize 10,000 person audience. Would you lean into that? If because that's something I'm fascinated by, because I do think in the next 5, you're right about AI. AI is going to make a lot of content creators irrelevant. I do think there's a push toward more decentralized content platforms, which will, probably be tokenized, but they will be, obviously that's why Facebook changed its name to Meta, like seeing what was coming. It's just, they're too big to adapt. Would you lean into that space? I know Paul's played around with it on the business side. I think it's an inevitable future. These centralized platforms can't ultimately outlast it.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. And honestly, there's only so many hours in the day, right? And I think that's been like the biggest challenge that I've had is juggling all these different balls, juggling all these different balls and spinning all these different plates. When I do have, we all have like a real life, things going on. I got kids, I got a wife, I got other things going on. We're just crazy busy. And then trying to build this online platform and persona to be something bigger. Moving people to a subscription platform I think that's any content creator who's being honest with themselves. I think that's the goal, obviously, because you can't rely on Meta. You can't rely on you do look at how much you're getting paid in your earnings, and you do look at the views, and you go, man, where is there enough leverage here? So obviously that is definitely something that I think any content creator who's intelligent wants to do.
Let me ask you this. Do you look at your analytics like deep? Like, do you really get into it? Like study it. Hey, this is where I lose people. This is where this goes on. Because watching your content, not all of it is about being a conservative. A lot of it's being funny and commenting on like the whole strip club black guy getting his arm broke or whatever that was. Like, is that a lot of what you do? And is it because that's going to bring, like you have that comedic personality, you have that funny, and that's what really translates to people. It's like, what does that say? You get more bees with honey rather than vinegar. It's like, do you bring people in through that, and then they start going, oh, let me see what else he has to say?
That's what I try to do. That's a philosophy that I try to live my life by is, if you want somebody to understand your viewpoint and your perspective, it's better to, try to, at least want them to have a conversation with you rather than just beat them over the head with morality. So I do look at it. I've studied, like I said, I've done social media consulting and management for a lot of different organizations in the past. And, you got to look at what's the first 3 seconds. You lose people after the first 3 seconds, then the odds are the algorithm's going to pick up on that and all these. I've done a tremendous amount of research on things. So, that is a big part of how I craft some of these pieces of content.
Let me ask you this. So you said you did a lot of streaming, right? A lot of live streaming. Are you very familiar with what they call clippers? Have you looked into that and seen?
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my most favorite
things to
watch.
Too.
Right? Did you really? I love it. Like, I think it's amazing to watch, like, how some of these people, like Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody I follow, he's big time. And I watch and I'm like, how is Gary Vaynerchuk coming up in my feed from 72 different, but it never clicked in my brain that somebody's turned that into a whole industry. And I think Andrew Tate, they'll give him credit for being probably the one that did it first. Have you ever thought about, like, you know, I know you said you don't do TikTok, but one of my goals with what we do with Rob is like, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to help people make more money. Like, I love the business side of everything that comes up. Like, one of my good friends, he had a show on HGTV. He was with a production company. The production company got $500,000 a year. He and his partner on their flipping show on HGTV got $10,000 each a year. And then he decided to get his own production company, and they put 2 seasons together, which was great. But then I said, well, what are you going to do with it? And he's like, oh, well, at least we're now the production company. And I said, okay, but what are you going to do? And he goes, well, we're looking at a contract now with HGTV and A&E. And I said, isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? He goes, yeah, but now we're the production company. And I go, yeah, but you just told me they're not giving you 500,000. They're going to give you maybe 250 to 300,000 an episode, with your production costs still doing it some of the old way, even though they cut it down a little bit. So I got him to actually, you know, we took his show on. I put together a group of investors. We bought his show, you know, and they still have all the control. They put it up on YouTube. We're doing all those things. But I keep telling them, I'm like, it's almost like you got to pull people out of the old way of doing things. Like, I'm 55, but I look at and I watch. I'm so blessed to have this younger guy, 25-year-old, who came up in this YouTube deal. And his name is Paul, and my name is Paul. So they called him Young Paul and me Old Paul, which really hurts my feelings, but it's okay. All the time before he came along, I was just Paul. But I watch it, and I'm like, okay, I watch what he does, and he utilizes these other platforms like Snapchat, like TikTok, like all these different things to get them back to where he can do the thing he loves to do. And when I say he makes 100,000 plus on a monthly basis, he takes all that money and plows it back into his farm and his animals and all those type of things. Do you find yourself with any kind of money that comes in, just plowing it back into what you do? Or is it you just kind of, you have all these other things so you can be who you want, how you want, and grow it at a different rate? So it's not something in your head you go, I got to make this money to live.
Oh no, I'm definitely not going, oh my God, I need to, you know, get 1 million views on this video or else rent's not going to be paid. Oh man, I couldn't imagine. I'd be so stressed out. But I mean, it depends on what your personality is like. But for most of my earnings have just definitely just gone right back into whatever I'm doing, buying cameras, equipment, or, you know, props, or whatever I'm doing, or paying for my, you know, daughter's gymnastics or something like that. Right now, as of right now, this is kind of like just a paying, I wouldn't call it a hobby, because hobby? I wouldn't call it a hobby.
I interrupt. I would not. I've been listening to this. I would not call it a hobby. I think you fall. Well, I think BlackRant, you fall in a category. There's a couple categories of creators right now. There are those who simply, you describe them, they just want to make money. They don't care. They literally don't care. They will take pictures of themselves all day long. They'll look at whatever trend someone else is doing and just mimic the exact same trend over and over and over again. No one knows who they are. They just get tons of views. I guess eventually, if you can do it consistently. Then there's creators who, like some of the people Paul's talking about, there's a serious intentionality behind it to create a business that monetizes, makes them money, has a brand built under it, and, you know, it is there, like Paul said, it's risky because if YouTube pulls the plug, your business just got unplugged, but it's a real business. Then there's creators like you who I feel are creating, not that you don't want to make money, but you're creating because you genuinely have a passion to communicate a message and you want to reach an audience. You know, I only know you from Talk to Me Taylor because I've seen you guys are friends and on her show. She's in that similar vein. Creators, I'm not saying you guys don't want to make money, you do, but your goal is to communicate, to get a message out. And that can be political, social, even lifestyle. There's people like that, you know, so it can be the mom who wants people to understand what it's like to be a mom, whatever, but it's a genuine thing. Oh, yeah. And you're harder to monetize in some ways, but it feels like that is a legitimate, authentic thing that needs to be valued. Like, you don't have to want to be able to pay all your bills with this, but you want to be able to do it, right? You do it because you love doing it, would be my guess. I don't want to call it a hobby. A hobby makes it seem like Something
Yeah,
just do for fun on the
yeah,
side.
I feel like that's a I feel like that is a belittling it a little bit, and I do agree with you. I mean, I I'm not stupid. Like there are some pages actually that I monetize and that are making really good money that I'm developing, but BlackRant is not one of them. And if I wanted to blow up and become extremely famous or make $100,000 a month, I've got really cute kids. You know,
Here we
I
go. See,
no,
I love him
Paul
already.
wants to do.
Listen,
Paul's
I started dating somebody with 3-year-old
gonna
twins,
pimp
and
out
the
her
first thing out of
kids.
my mouth was like, "We're putting them on YouTube," and she's like, "What is wrong with you?"
No, I understand. I could make probably tons of money because my son is super smart, he's super cute, he's 6 years old. Like I'm not really into that. I don't really want to do it because I would like for my kids to express an interest in doing that first, or I don't really just want to be in the exploitative business, right? I took a course on creating AI models, right? I didn't even want to do that either because
I tried that too.
it's like it's not really what I'm interested in doing because you can make like a lot of money for sure, but then you might want to take a shower afterwards because it's
right.
There's so many different ways to monetize in today's society, which is part of the reason why I get extremely frustrated with millennials and Gen Z who are complaining about everything going on. I'm like, if you have one of these computers sitting here with enough power and memory, it just goes to show that you're not very creative. And I think we can blame the public school system for that. But I would rather become well-known, famous as BlackRant, even if it takes 5 more years, but be able to sit there and own most of the things that I create, have control over most of the things that I'm doing, and be able to feel good and look myself in the mirror. I understand that reaching a certain level of fame or wealth takes a certain level of compromise. I'm not 17 years old. I don't believe, oh my God, I'm going to rule the world and do whatever I want. That's not realistic. However, I think it's better to do that than to just, look at Charleston White. Look at all these Black content creators that are out there that will do anything and make themselves look as crazy as possible, but there's a risk that comes with that. I have family members that don't know anything about what I'm doing per se online on a daily basis. If I just go out there and say whatever is going to get me the most views, I could be putting their lives at risk because people are crazy. You have to think about those things. It's not just me wanting to be as authentic as possible. It's also me understanding the risk
what
that
comes
one
along
takes.
with that.
What comes along with it. So, and it's like it's no.
That's a great perspective though, because I think
is.
a lot of people don't think that way and they don't realize it. And then when it does go wrong and it does slap them in the face, they look back and they go, "What happened?" It's like, well, you put yourself in that position. Do you think that comes because you are more mature, older,
yes,
I mean, obviously,
yes,
obviously goes without saying, but do you think that there's no one that guides people and teaches people how to do this? So let me ask you this. If you had any, as we start wrapping this up, is there anything that you would encourage younger people who are getting into the space to do, to not do, anything?
I think one of the reasons why some people resonate with my content is there's something that they don't even realize about why they resonate with my content. I have done a lot of spiritual introspection, right? I have done a lot of inner work, psychological work. I know myself very well. I'm very self-aware. So when I present myself on the internet, I don't even think of myself as a Black conservative per se, but I know that people are going to see me that way. So that's what I give it to them. But I know myself so well that I think one of the reasons why people get boxed in, because I talked to another creator friend of mine and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do politics anymore because I'm getting boxed in." And I'm like, I understand that to a certain extent, but you're only boxed in, sir, because you believe you're boxed in. If you see yourself as a multifaceted person, as a multifaceted human being, you will never be boxed in. if you're a person who loves Donald Trump, but you also love Cardi B, just show that you love Cardi B. But because the political line, the political rhetoric is, well, I love for Trump, so I can't like Cardi B. Don't become a bot yourself in an effort to try to fool the algorithm or to try to get ahead in the algorithm. And that's why I think personally, my rise is slow, but it's steady, and I'm happy about it, and I appreciate it, and I'm basically getting everything that I've asked for thus far. It's like I'd rather build at my pace that's comfortable than shoot up overnight and be completely unprepared.
And that's what people say, that, you know, it took 20 years to be an overnight success. Even with my friend, he's been in this space since he was 16 years old. Like, he was digging ponds in his parents' backyard in the middle of the night, filming it when nobody was watching. And it's like, when people start going to him like, oh my gosh, you just blew up, he's like, no, you don't understand. I've been doing the same thing. Like, I listen to Mr. Beast a lot. I love his perspective on things. And it like, listening to him to talk, it's like, even to this day, he works maniacally to get this done, and he gets the results that show. Like, someone like you, I think, is amazing, that could even, you know, help other people. That, you know, you got to temper your expectations by what you're willing to put in. You know,
exactly.
It's like, my son is a, you know, my son's amazing, and I love him to death, and he loves to argue with me. He's 24. He's watched me my whole life be successful, go up and down business wise, and it's not, now he's like, oh, I wish I was one of those girls that you dated so that I could get those kind of things. I go, bro, I've been working for 55 years. Like, he goes, I don't understand why these girls get the things and get to live in the places you live in. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not making out with you, Hunter. And he goes, well, good, because that's weird. And I said, okay. But the point is, sometimes I think younger people don't understand. It's like, what you decided to do, it sounds like it was very thoughtful. It's like, I'm going to do it this way. I know what my expectations are. I know what my results are going to be. And I'm not going to expect any more than I'm going to, like, a lot of people, I think, is entitlement. And I don't think it's just kids. I think a lot of adults are entitled to, well, that's not fair. I have an opinion. Why can't I put it on? You know, it's like, well, if your content sucks, your content sucks. like that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't think anymore that the truth, this is a myth, I think, that's showing up. Success in numbers is not just on whether your content's good. It never it used to be. You know, we go, and this is for me the last part that I'm so interested in. But in the beginning, most content creators weren't trying to make money. I'm talking when this was all starting. You know, the early YouTubers, I'm not saying people didn't think about it. I'm saying it started with a passion to create content. Then they started realizing they could make money, you know, and wow, it's working. You know, the Paul brothers didn't start out, we're going to get rich doing this. They started out having fun doing this content and then realized we can make money. And I think now it's become a business where everybody thinks, how do I make money? I actually think one of the most valuable things that can't get lost in this space is people whose primary goal is to create great content. And then you figure out how you get that great content out. And I got a question for you. I'd love your thoughts on that, BlackRant. But you said you don't think it's a big deal to be a conservative Black influencer, thought leader. I think Black people in general in America who are social influencers are automatically put in a unique category. And I don't know if there's if there's a simple reason why, but I know people, you know, Joy Villa is a conservative, you know, influencer, Black influencer, moved away from politics, but was massive, right? Charlamagne the God, liberal, also massive, you know, Nico House, who's a big influencer, super progressive Black leftist, you know, they all get identified as being Black, even by the liberals. And I don't know if that's something you'll ever escape, which is, you know, there is a category of like Black influencers, like, it's a weird subset, but it is how people think of it. You're like, people do think of you as a Black conservative. They think of Charlamagne as a Black liberal. They think of Nico as a Black progressive. And well, I guess, you know, I don't know how you think about that, but to me, that is how you often get put in. Call it a box if you want.
No, I mean, I think people might see you that way. I mean, obviously I've only been a Black guy my entire life, so I don't know anything. But you know, people might look at somebody who's black and go, oh, that person's black. That might be a primary identifier. But just think about the guy who, God, people's names escape me. I'm not really good with them. But the guy who just got banned from Walmart, who used to buy people's groceries and buy them gas.
Mhm.
I don't think people primarily look at him and go, that's a black content creator. He has transcended. And I think people can transcend their ethnicity or their quote unquote race or whatever if the things that they bring to the table and the feelings that they make people feel are transcendent. If you can transcend those labels in terms of feeling, like nobody looks at Jimi Hendrix and goes, that guy was a black rock and roll.
I agree with you. I agree. And I just want to interrupt for a second.
I'm just saying
I agree with you, but this is an why I think it is so interesting. And I looked at your post, which I loved, of Sophie Cunningham, where you're like, whose ass is that? And it's like, oh, that's Sophie Cunningham. But you made a point.
First 3 seconds.
You made a point. Like, she's white, she's blonde, blue-eyed, conservative, and white. So the same thing applies the other way. Her problem is she's white and not black. She's white in a league that wants you to be a superstar, the black superstar. So I'm not saying it's just pointing out you're a black podcaster. It's she's a white WNBA player along with Caitlin Clark, and that's a bad thing that they're better.
Well, does she make anybody feel transcendent? No. So that the way people are going to categorize her is based upon the physical limitations of how she makes people feel. What she talks about instantly puts people in a space where they're wanting to know why she's talking about it that way. That's how politics works. If you talk about a subject like healthcare, instantly people want to know where's your opinion coming from? Oh, it's because you're white. Oh, it's because you're black. Oh, it's because you're wealthy. Oh, it's because you're living in poverty. That's why your opinions have been shaped by who you are. But if you do something that's transcendent, like, I mean, obviously I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say Kanye West is not black, but they just go, that's Kanye, because he's made people feel a transcendent feeling. Nobody sits there and goes, Michael Jackson was a black guy, because he makes people feel transcendent. Same thing with Michael Jordan. The greats can transcend because they give people transcendent emotions. If you can only give people a certain set of emotions at a certain level of their capabilities, then that's how they'll understand you. So if Sophie Cunningham makes people feel, I hate that white bitch, that's all they're going to look at her like. So if she plays a game like Michael Jordan for the rest of her life, if she plays like Michael Jordan for the next 5 years, they're going to be like, Sophie Cunningham is that girl, whatever. But it's just the framing, right? It's all about framing. And that's my response to your point. I think you're absolutely correct. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I do think that's the thing that people do not recognize about greatness. The reason why we respect Muhammad Ali and not necessarily put Floyd Mayweather in the same category is because Floyd played into what people expect of a black boxer. Muhammad Ali went beyond that.
Interesting point.
So let's wrap this up, because I don't want to take much more of your time. But one other thing I wanted to just kind of end on is, like, where do you see, like, the biggest platform that you're on is Facebook? Where do you see it going and in the next 5 years? Like, how do you see that growing and for you and just overall, like, because I love to see where it was 5 years ago. You know, it's like whenever you interview someone, they go, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, where do you see what you're doing along with, say, Meta in the next 5 years and how it changes?
I think that platforms are going to start following YouTube, like what YouTube is starting to do. People are getting upset because in the beginning of next year, YouTube's requirements for monetization are increasing. They're doubling, right? But YouTube is doing that because essentially it's like ABC or Fox or CBS having news anchors or people on a sitcom, but they have like 2,500 sitcoms. You can't really make money off of 2,500 sitcoms. You can make money off of 25. So what they're doing is they're trimming the fat. They're raising the requirements, because why give money to 1 million creators when we can give money to 10,000 creators that are going to bring people to the platform? I think that's the move that a lot of these because we're past the content creator boom. It's kind of over. It's going to become very dystopian for a lot of people who see this as a career goal. Once you see colleges creating courses on how to be a content creator,
not just courses, degrees. USC has a degree.
It's a wrap,
It's
brother.
over.
It's over.
That's funny.
So the only people who are going to survive this next wave are people who are, like I said, either multifaceted or they've already built their tremendously large followings. You have to be multifaceted. You have to be intelligent to be able to pivot, or you've got to be like a smoke show. Like it's, whatever, because women are always going to be able to
Right.
monetize that. But as long as men still exist, that'll still be monetizable. But so I think in the next 5 years, we're going to start seeing a kind of trimming of the fat, because there's a lot of creators on Facebook. I think Facebook likes that more than YouTube does. But I think what they're going to start doing is they're going to start trimming the fat. And so people are going to have to either, like you said, lean heavily into alternative platforms where they have their audience, but it's already happening. And I see it as like this new life coming onto the internet, where there's going to be a resurgence of a respect for wisdom and actual intelligence, which is what these platforms are going to create. Because right now there's a proliferation of like idiocy, because, well, let me do the dumbest thing possible on camera, and that'll get me a ton of views and that'll get me a ton of money, right? As soon as they start trimming the fat, because I only come to YouTube to watch Mr. Beast. I don't come to watch, Guy 7052. Guy 7052 is going to get cut off because all he does is dumb stuff.
Right.
Mr. Beast will stay the same, but so all these other platforms, people will be going to the Substack because they want to learn how to dress, how to wear a tie, how to be a gentleman. They want to learn how to cook. They want to learn how to. So I see good things coming in the future, but for content creators who only have an opinion, they're gonna have to figure it out. Unless your opinion is so good and people really like Candace Owens, people just, oh my God, I can't stop watching Candace Owens. But
there's always going to be those outliers.
There's always going to be pundits,
right?
But you got to be really good.
You're going to have to up your game. Like, it's not going to be something you just, hey, I'm going to throw some videos up. I got 4 million views. Look at me. Now they go into it. Like, it's going to have to thought out. It's going to have to be work. Everything. I tell people all the time, I don't care like what it is. When people look at me, they go, oh, well, you've been successful. Yeah, but they don't see how many times I failed. But I kept going, and I kept working, and I kept putting the time in. And like I've got 4 businesses right now that, like, we started a commercial roofing company 4 months ago. I knew absolutely nothing about commercial roofing. Now we're doing data centers all over the country. And it's like trying to fix a car going 60 miles an hour. Like we had to push our thing back today because we had something go wrong. But I'm like, most people, like you say, it's like, I think we could end on this, is like, if you're good at it and you love it, you're going to put the time in. You're going to become great at your craft.
Right.
And whether it happens overnight or it happens 20 years from now, you're still doing the right thing by who you are.
Yeah.
Like, I think you saying you know who you are is where I come from. I just wrote a book called Shut Up and Tip. And I had people go, what does that mean? Oh, you just think you should tip everyone? No, but because of tipping and because of taking care of people, it's gotten me into rooms and gotten me into contact with people where I built billion-dollar companies because of taking care of people, And so it's all about, at the end of the day, doing the right thing, working your ass off, and then making good content. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, Rant, and thank BlackRant, thanks for coming on. I'm trustworthy. I think no matter what, I'm not going to be easily convinced that this isn't true. No matter how the monetization models work out, content is king. Content will always be king. Now, that doesn't mean good content won't not succeed, because you're competing against the algorithms that are pushing what's most monetizable or can grow. I like that you're about content. I think authenticity and content will win the long haul here. Not necessarily the short haul, but the long haul, because AI will take care of the rest and sweep them away. Love what you're doing. Your stuff is good. Thanks for taking the time to come up Postworthy with a couple pieces of white trash over here.
No.
I mean, white trash is the best kind of folks I've met.
I'm redneck.
I'll tell you right now, my grandfather, I grew up in Texas. He said there's all kinds of white trash.
It's true. It's true.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll keep watching you and look for you to do even greater things in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
man.